He is a visionary leader in sustainable agriculture dedicated to empowering communities and transforming lives across Africa. With a rich background in education, research and
Please welcome Dr. David Abu Dhabi. A big round of applause for him.
Ecologically sound practices. Please welcome the Executive Director, BioVision Africa Trust,
Karibu
Dr.
sana.
David Abu Dhabi.
Thank you very much, everyone. It is a great pleasure to welcome all of you to our second Eastern Africa Agroecology Conference. And before I make my few remarks of warm welcome, I would like to request one of us, Wanjiru, if you are in the room, please, to open our meeting with a word of prayer. Wanjiru. Yes, please. Thank you.
Good morning. Great to see you. Karibuni Kenya, hakuna matata. Let's give thanks. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you have made. Lord, we are so glad and rejoice in it. Thank you for the gift of life. Thank you for your love. Thank you that you've brought this conference to fruition after a whole year of planning. Thank you for the delegates, each and everyone represented here, and those on their way. We thank you for journey mercies, and thank you for provision of the resources that we need to hold this conference. Lord, as we start this conference, we'll pray that the wisdom, the understanding, the knowledge that we'll all pick up from this conference is going to change our lives and the people and the communities we work with, and also for the betterment of our own countries and the world at large. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for giving us a beautiful earth. We pray that each and every one of us, individually and collectively, will do our own drop in the ocean to leave this earth a better place than we found it. We pray that, Heavenly Father, as we do that, that we will also benefit as individuals and communities from this earth that you have placed us in. We pray for fine weather, Heavenly Father. Towards the end of the conference, we come against any challenges and difficulties and any calamities to the glory and of your name. We commit this conference, we invite your presence, and we pray that it will end well to the glory and of your name. For we have prayed these things, believing and trusting in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you very much, Sister Wanjiru. In Kiswahili saa zingine tunasema mabibi na mabwana ndio hata wenyeji wajue ya kwamba wako nyumbani. But I would use English to make it possible for all of us to understand each other. First, on behalf of the conference organizing committee, I want to express my deep appreciation and joy to see how many people have turned up to be with us for the next 3 days in this conference. This is our second East African Agroecology Conference, the first one having been in March, same month like this one in 2023. And I'm glad we've been overwhelmed. We were expecting about 400 people to 500, and now we have over 700 people, and that is why you can see we have delayed a little bit to start. Nevertheless, we'll still be able to go through our full program as scheduled. So feel most welcome with all protocols observed. I know we'll have an official ceremony where we'll recognize all the key officials, high-level ranking officials from the region, you will be welcome during the official opening, which will come after this session. So I do recognize the presence of all of you. Feel at home, feel welcome, and be ready to engage with all of us. Why are we here? And very briefly, this is an opportunity for us to learn, to be inspired, to see what agroecology can do. I am glad to see some of you giving your own understanding of what agroecology means through the Mentimeter exercise that has just been displayed. And I think in the next 3 days, it will become very clear what is agroecology, why are we concerned with it, why do we feel it is one of the most appropriate and urgent ways that we need to see how to transform or change our agriculture and food systems for the better in a very sustainable way, in a very healthy way, and ensuring that we are doing so in very safe environments. So ladies and gentlemen, for the next 3 days, we will be learning. We will see from the exhibitions examples of what agroecology can do within our economy. We are very happy to see farmers that have come to display their products. We are happy to see the small and medium enterprises that have come to show their products out of the work of agroecology. We will see enterprises, companies, showing how much we can get from waste so that we don't waste waste. Put that back into use. And these are some of the things that we will be seeing. We'll see some of the farmers that are model farmers. They have testimonies and stories of what it has meant to their lives by embracing agroecology in their farming systems. So let me leave it at that for now in the interest of time and request the moderator of this session to come and start us off. And I would really request the moderators, because the time has really gone, I will request the key speakers. I know you have great presentations. Make them short. You can go over some slides and emphasize the areas that we feel we really want to pick the messages. And the moderator will then work with us, together with our MC, to see how do we engage all of us in the presentations that are going to be made. We are going to do it in a very unique way to ensure that all of us, we don't just listen, but we'll also contribute to this. And I would like to leave that to the moderator to pick up from there. So thank you very much. Be most welcome. Our policymakers in the room, our researchers in the room, our academia in the room, our noble farmers in the room, our development partners, and all the rest, including the media that are in this room. I am sure we are all set to see what these 3 days will mean for us. Thank you very much, and now I want to hand over to Dr. Anne Muruki, who is going to officiate over this session. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm lifting up my voice just so that I can be heard, but a very warm welcome to our opening session. My name is Anne Muriuki. I work for the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization. I'm a soil scientist and I'm a chief researcher there. This morning, time is spent, but we shall redeem it. So I want to give you very careful instructions. We have 3 keynote addresses coming up. And then after that, homework for you. But I'll give you hints as to how to get the homework done. Question number 1, they are all going to be on the Mentimeter, by the way, so get to know how to use the Mentimeter, is going to relate to how the presentations address the sub-theme. And the sub-theme is productivity, production, soil health, and farmer-managed seeds, which is addressing sub-theme 1 and 2. So tell us how closely the presenters address that. Then tell us the gaps And then the third question, I'll leave it to the Mentimeter to reveal it to you. I'll give you a very short time on the Mentimeter, probably just 3 minutes. So please be fast. As for the presenters, I'll give you only 15 minutes. At 12 minutes, I will begin standing up. So if you see me coming up, know it's time to wind up. But I know the presentations are at your fingertips and you can choose what to share with us. So right away, I'll call Marcus Albens. He's a project leader and senior consultant at the Department of International Cooperation at FIBO, Switzerland. And he's going to share with us on evidence for narratives and other contributions for research for agroecology, organic development in Africa. Thank you. Yes. Please load the presentation.
Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. I'm really touched, I'm really honored to be here in front of you, to welcome you, to see actually how much we gather, how much we can come together, and how much power we can develop to come and celebrate agroecology, to celebrate ecological organic agriculture, to celebrate regenerative agriculture, and to be here to develop and to get further in our endeavors. Let me start with the, how does it work? Yeah, let me start with the expression that our global food system is challenged. We know that we have surpassed the global system, that we have surpassed the capacity of the globe to absorb what is our activities, what is to cover our needs. And we have the Stockholm Resilience Institute who shows that very clearly every year. We see the maps of the global soil, how much we degenerate, how much we deplete the soils, including actually in most parts of the world, including in Africa. We have a food system that is not well serving the people. We have a lot of people that are undernourished. We have people that are obese. We have people that have micronutrient deficiencies. All this is a challenge to our food system, and the question is, how do we address this challenge? There are lots of narratives of how to do that. There are lots of ways of how to do that, and that is exactly what we discuss right now. We have objectives, but we are not on track with our objectives. Hunger is, hang on, can I go back? Hunger, we have the objective to say by 2030 we would like to stop hunger, we would like to end hunger, but unfortunately we are not on track. We see actually even hunger on the rise since 2015. We are living now in crazy times. We are living in times that are difficult, that politicians all over the world, they take crazy decisions against the people, decisions against achievement of our objectives. And we have to set something against that. We have to really be present and forward that. You see, even in Africa, it's the same situation. We have also a food system here that is not in line with the objectives. We have still 800 people going hungry to bed every night. We have galloping population growth. We have dietary changes which consume even more resources of our globe. We are supposed to create jobs, but more and more jobs are being erased in agriculture, and we see environment degrading. We have ways how we want to address that. We have plans how to do that, and we have optimism on how, for example, to address biodiversity, to see that we can recover, that biodiversity can come back, that we can feed the people. We have actually our plans, but not everybody agrees to that. We know what we want. We have it set in plans, but we have various evidences how to do that. The objective overall is to stop hunger. We want to stop hunger with sustainable food production and agriculture and resilient agriculture practices. We have set that objectives years ago, and many of you in here have also advocated for this, have been part of the movement that was fighting for solutions like putting sustainable food solutions on the table. Yeah. So now there's lots of ideas of how to solve that. And how do we put that in times when the world is very complex, when we have a lot of ways of how to do that? We put that into narratives. We tell a story and we say, okay, there's different ways of addressing it. Many of these ways have been described. Hang on, can I go back? It's going too fast. Yeah. Many of these ways have been expressed, and what I did, I went out and asked actually a neutral intelligence, and I asked the neutral intelligence, what is how the world, in which narratives wants the world solve these hunger issues? How do we want to address the sustainability? And it came out 8 ways. Out of these 8 ways, I see on top the agroecological and regenerative approach. I see actually that people recognize, they hear us in the world to say, yes, there are ways, there are regenerative and agroecological ways how to do that. There are others like high-tech. There are those who believe more in ocean food, those who believe more in maybe ethical food orientation. But on top of the list, we can see here how agriculture and regenerative agriculture wants to do that. And I found interesting when I asked outsider, what is the result, how do they see us, and how do they see that we want, that our narrative is and our story is. And I found actually that they find a number of nice points. For example, we want not to have dependency on synthetic fertilizers, not on pesticides. We want to have low input farming. We want to enhance local food system, and we want to support smallholder farmers. But some argue against us and they say, maybe you don't produce enough. You don't have significant shift because you're very small and you have a very small contribution, and I'm coming to that point later on in my explanation. There are others, for example, here, they say high-tech is important. They say GMO we need CRISPR-Cas, all of the things that we are opposing. We criticize there and say, yes, we have concerns. Concerns about corporate control over us. We have concerns that this is not food from the people, by the people, for the people, but this is for the profit of big corporates and maybe big powers which do leave people behind. I'm jumping. Yeah, is it? And coming actually to our solution, agroecology. Agroecology is the way we would like to see it. Agroecology, when we tell the story, we come to our principles. We have 13 principles that have been approved. We have a way of a vision of a transformation. We have a process in mind that we see the farms are going to change from the way they do it maybe traditionally or the way just the reality is, to a more transformed way. So we put the transformative character in the foreground. And we see an integration from farms to society. At the same time, always jumps here. We have other narratives as well. You know, we talk, for example, in Africa here about ecological organic agriculture, and we have the 4 principles of organic agriculture like health, ecology, fairness, and care. We have manuals, we have a lot of materials where we say, look, that's how it's going to be done. That's how farming can look like, and there is a big tradition, and there is friends all over the world that are also following that narrative, and we have successes in that. Then we have also regenerative agriculture. I don't know why it jumps again. Oops. Yeah, we have regenerative agriculture. It's also an interesting way of having a look at regenerative agriculture, focusing much more on the soil. You see here the 5 principles of regenerative agriculture, or they sometimes call it also regenerative organic. And it's quite interesting to see how these terms develop. At the last conference here, there were a lot of questions as why do we call it organic? Why do we call it agroecology? Why do we call it regenerative? And what's the difference? Yes, the specialists know there are differences, but we also know that we have a lot in common, and we see that it's also dynamic, that terms are used in various ways. So you see on the right-hand side an interesting chart that shows how the use of the term has developed in literature. They took thousands of books and checked actually which term was used in which year. And you see that, for example, the term regenerative was very popular in the 1980s, 90s, and it got lost. And now recently it took up dynamics again. We see that sustainable agriculture was used actually very much also end of 90s and has also lost momentum. While, for example, organic has steadily grown, at the same time is losing also momentum, while agroecology is still quite unknown among many, but is gaining momentum in these days. So you see that we have all 3 terms. We have different clientele, we have different people that feel close to these things, but we know that eventually we represent the same narrative which we go when we look more into the details, a little bit different approaches. We have all principles, we have all guidelines and recommendations. Some have standards, some have quite the standard systems, markets. But we go on the level of the principles, then we realize that they're quite interwoven. So that's quite expressing more or less similar things, what we eventually want. And of course, we have a different market integration. We have labels. For example, here in Kenya, you have the Kilimo High label. The Kilimo High label that is very popular. Kilimo High Organic, known for a long time. But Koan is going to launch also an agroecology label to also give people a choice that they can also have recognized their products on the market. Now, I'm coming to the question of those who maybe oppose also our ways, and those who can see criticism in it. And they're putting questions. They say, look, you need a lot of land. They say you're expensive. They say you cannot feed the world. They say it's not profitable. And they say it's not scalable. For that, in FIBL, what we do find evidence. For our narratives, we say, yes, there is ways, there is responses to these questions. We have here in Kenya, not only here in Kenya, but also in India and Bolivia, trials where we try to compare the systems. And these systems, they are, again, a quite quick look at it. It's not responding really, huh? Yeah, so never mind, let's go ahead, time is flying. You see here that these systems, they perform. You see here an example where cocoa system, on the left-hand side, you have a traditional or a conventional system in which one you have the cocoa yield. However, when you do it biodiverse, when you do it with agroecology, when you do it with agroforestry, then you have many different kind of yields and the productivity increases a lot. You can compare, you can see here, again, you can see here how much more dynamic agroforestry, according to agroecology, is performing when you compare it to monoculture, which has only the main crop. But of course, conventional comparisons, they would go for the main crop yield only, and when you look at the main crop yield only, then they overperform the agroecology, and that's the subject of the discussion. You see here also a second message that organic or agroecology system, they need time. In the first years, in fact, we have here a potato cultivation in Kenya where you can see that in the first years, in fact, we lose yield. We have less yield than others. But if you took time after 10 years or after 12 years, you see that the harvest, the yield equals and even overperforms after some time. Another one is here, you see diversity of the systems. You see how some systems, conventional systems, that within the system that you have much bigger difference than between the systems. So if you do good practice, good agriculture practice, good organic practice, or good agroecology practice overperforms conventional a lot. Then we can also say, are they profitable and affordable? We compare here in the 3 countries, and we see if you take really the yield and the income from all of the sources, that means not only the main crop, because the main crop is only a small part of it, then organic, for example, in Kenya on the right-hand side, can really overperform profitability. Yeah, the same here. You can see here evidence on energy. Agroecology consumes much less energy, and we're talking here mostly about non-renewable energy, which is a contribution then to the climate change mitigation. Same message here. You see also labor. It provides more labor, which can be very much an advantage because it brings more people into the system, it brings more people into income, and more people can earn and participate in the benefits that is created out of agriculture. Carbon, similar picture, you see, a long time we have here similar absorption of carbon from the conventional organic system, but after time, with patience actually, we can see that the organic is overperforming the conventional system. So you see there's time is slowly going up, and I see the moderator here. I can still have a lot of messages, but there is a lot of evidence, you know, also that they're scalable. We can see a lot of opportunities how to scale it. I'm not going into the details in it, but just saying there is also all described. We have here at our booth all these messages there that you can go into details. There is also a brochure from which actually you can download and from which you can learn. There is lots of evidence also on how the markets do absorb it. There is statistics, which is we have thick books in which you can also see the evidence that is growing and that more and more. We have 4 million farmers that are organically certified. We have $140 billion turnover of consumption worldwide. So the thing is growing every year, and we see more and more people joining the systems. We have lots of approaches also, ways of how to address these systems. There are partners, there are partnerships that go and try and analyze the very complex systems and then also push and pull depending actually on the priorities of what we want to do. Of course, people is not the only one that brings evidence. There are others that bring evidence. There is a lot of scientific publications. We have associations, for example, NOARA here in Africa, that bring in evidence into the narratives. And it's quite important that your narratives, what you're pushing, that this is supported, that this is supported by research behind. We are there for it, and we can provide a lot of materials, and that's what we are up to. For my final reflection, I can say, yes, agroecology can contribute to adaptation to climate change. Yes, we can lower greenhouse gases. We can improve the carbon soil. We have the potential to sequester even the carbon. And with preventive pest control, improve yields and we can reduce the need for pesticide, and we can reduce also the pollution and contribute a lot to health. Yes, that was it. I thank you very much for your attention. Yes, back to the moderator.
Thank you, Marcus. His presentation was loaded with data, but that is very encouraging for agroecology. Now, straight on to our second speaker, Dr. Chrysanthus B. Tanga. He's a senior scientist and head of insects for food, feed, and other uses program at ISIPE. And his presentation this morning is going to be on insect-first fertilizer, innovations for better health, and agri-food systems transformations in Africa. Please.
How does it work?
Good morning, everyone. I said my name is Santos Mbitanga. I do work with the International Center of Insect Physiology and Ecology. So I'll be presenting on insect frass fertilizer, innovations for better soil health, and agri-food systems transformation in Africa. Basically, I didn't know this. How does it work? Okay, it doesn't move forward, okay. So I totally agree with Marcus. Our food systems are challenged, and one of the biggest reasons for this is because of soil degradation. And we're surprised with that the African soil are so degraded that the values are even much more higher than the global statistics. And so within the insect food system, we are looking at a more better way of rethinking about waste. To us, we don't look at waste anymore as waste, but as a resource. And our idea here is using one of the most efficient environmental cleaner. We call it the Eco Warrior, a tiny bug with big impact, which has a capacity to recycle organic waste within 5 weeks compared to 24 weeks for conventional composting, producing high quality fertilizer, and which are actually very important for both promoting regenerative agriculture, safe food production, and also climate resilience. And because it has a very short time of recycling organic waste, that means we can produce organic waste 9 times in a year compared to 2 times when you use conventional composting. And the implication is that it reduces labor costs, it is scaling, within our farmer communities, reduce greenhouse gas emission, and also require less capital investment. I'm still mixing the slides. So looking at this fertilizer, one of the most important things we take note of is the fact that when you compare this organic fertilizer with any other organic fertilizer you find in the market, you find that there is a 3 to 9-fold increase in terms of the macronutrient availability compared to any organic fertilizer in the market. All this has been tested and proven. When you compare with synthetic fertilizer, there is the potential for this fertilizer to produce all the 18 nutrients required for optimal plant growth compared to NPK. And we have also established the beneficial microbes and also the enzymes that are suitable for plant growth. And we've seen the ability for this to serve as plant growth promoters, the potential to boost tolerance to pests and diseases, as you're going to see ahead. They also bioremediation in terms of breaking down some of the pesticide residues and antibiotic resistance that you find in our organic fertilizer. There is also the potential for nutrient recycling and also pest suppression. These are all very important when it comes to soil health management. And in terms of application under field condition, we've clearly demonstrated that this fertilizer has the ability to reduce soil acidity, which means it reduces the chance of our farmers to depend on liming. We also see the ability to enhance soil microbiota, and the advantage here is that it restores soil life and also has the potential for boosting nutrient recycling. There's also the ability of the fertilizer to increase soil water retention, which is extremely important for climate resilience in most of the areas where we have climate change impacts, and also reduce the cost of irrigation. And in terms of its ability to suppress pests and diseases, we've actually demonstrated the ability for this to suppress nematode infestation under field conditions, up to 90%, suppress root maggot in onion, on cabbage, and beans. We've also the ability to reduce wilt diseases and also to control fall armyworm. And this is extremely important for our smallholder farmers, which means they don't need to use synthetic fertilizers when we have organic fertilizer. And this actually exposes the vulnerability of our mother continent in terms of importation of fertilizer when the Ukraine the Russia conflict actually turn up. And therefore, we need to look at local available methods of producing fertilizer and making them available for our smallholder farmers. Now, a typical example, we actually look at different cropping systems. Looking at cereals, we've actually demonstrated that using insect-fast fertilizer, we were able to increase nitrogen use efficiency by 27% when you compare to any other organic fertilizer you have in the market. At the same time, much more higher levels when compared to NPK. And if you look at the yield that is actually being produced, you find that it is much more higher with the fast fertilizer when compared to NPK and when compared to organic fertilizer in the market. And the reason for this are actually, as earlier explained, ability to reduce soil acidity, increase water retention, increase microbes in the soil, and also ability to be able to suppress pests and diseases, which are very important when it comes to crop productivity systems. We've also looked at legumes in terms of nitrogen fixation. The fast fertilizer has the ability, when compared to NPK and rhizobia, to be able to increase the ability of the beans to fix its own nitrogen up to 58%. And this can significantly increase yield up to 70%. And therefore, we do not need to use synthetic fertilizer in our bean production system. The fast fertilizer alone is enough to provide all the nutrients required for bean to produce its own nitrogen and for increased production systems. Also, we look at other perennial crops. For those who are banana lovers, we've seen a significant increase in terms of growth performance of the banana under field conditions. And we've also seen in terms of comparing the fast fertilizer with cattle manure, which is widely used. We've seen a significant increase in yield, up to 74%, when the fast fertilizer is being used. And so what we have actually done is to be able to look at 25 different food security crops to be able to establish under field condition and actually across different agroecosystems to be able to establish the benefits of the fast fertilizer when used for crop production. And we've seen significant increase in yield up to 20%. We've seen profitability of smallholder farmer up to 44%. In the case where the farmer produces its own fertilizer and use, you have up to 300% yield improvement. And we have also seen increase in crude protein levels in the crop that are being produced, and also increase in minerals. And so, from ECP perspective, we look at moving research from the lab to the land, and we were able to develop more than 15 different prototype products, looking at different levels as fast-release fertilizers, slow-release fertilizers, liquid fertilizers, and we have more than 1,400 SMEs in East Africa making money from this fertilizer production and commercialization as well. And so over time, we've seen so many companies like the South Organics, the Regans Organics, that have taken up this fertilizer products and have developed diversified products that are actually making a lot of income for these farmers. And we see in terms of evidence, the private sector actually demonstrated more than 30% increase under field condition, working with more than 250,000 farmers, establishing the benefit of this fertilizer. Most of the soil have rejuvenated because of the fertilizer use. Increased jobs has also been experienced, and we've seen a lot of carbon offset as well. And so this is important because the benefit of the fertilizer strongly depends on the volume of organic waste that is available. And if you look at the context of Ethiopia, it is clear that if you are able to use all the waste that we have in Ethiopia, we should be able to produce 1.5 million tons of fertilizer. That should be able to fertilize more than 1.2 million hectares of land. And it can produce enough food to feed more than 45 million people and create more than 1.9 million jobs. This also has been projected for other countries as well. And I give a typical example of the World Bank report that was done in 2021, that if we are to scale fast fertilizer production using the available waste that we have in Africa, which is about 125 million tons of fertilizer. We should be able to produce 60 million tons of fertilizer that can fertilize 24 million acres of land and can feed 1.1 million people and create more than 50 million jobs, and at the same time, save more than 86 million tons of carbon. This is equivalent to about removing 50 million cars from our roads in terms of greenhouse gas emission in the environment. And lastly, as a take-home message, we've clearly demonstrated that fast fertilizer has a high potential to enhance soil health, crop productivity, food security, and climate resilience in the continent. We've also been able to come out with cutting-edge research and innovations, build capacity, build partnership to support development of this sector. And we think that access to capital and integration of this technology are key to scaling the continent. And right now, we know there are standards for organic fertilizer, but the insect fast fertilizer is actually getting a lot of global attention. And so we are now working with the African Union to see how the standard can be revised to make sure that this fast fertilizer can be incorporated within the different systems and allow our farmers to benefit from this exciting and innovative technology and, that has been developed by ECP. I would like to take the opportunity to thank most of our donors that are supporting our work and to see that our farmers, smallholder farmers, actually benefit from this innovative technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tanga. I'm looking at that acknowledgement list. It's very long. That's what you call impact, eh? Yes. So we should all be excited about insect frass technology. It looks like it has a lot of impact and a lot of promise. Now, moving on to our third speaker, Remy Clazet. He's an agroecology advisor at FAO, and he's going to talk to us about advancing agroecology with tips and tools for local and national policy action. You have 15 minutes or less.
Good morning. Just waiting for the presentation. So maybe I can start and the presentation will arrive, okay? Yeah. So what I will introduce you is a work who was done under FAO auspice. It's been starting like 10 years ago. So it will be a work we did, but also it will be a presentation of the work we will do, and hopefully with you. So we have two parts of this presentation. But the first part is to introduce a tool for agroecology performance evaluation, was created after, okay, perfect. So now I have the, yep, okay. So, okay, perfect. So I will try to make it brief. Huh? It's supposed to be 15 minutes now. So I will speak about type characteristic and result and the next steps. First, what is important to explain, so we started this discussion on agroecology 10 years ago because it was already said by Marcus. We needed to understand better agroecology and also to have a discussion on agroecology, because as you can imagine, in this arena, agroecology makes unanimity, but outside of this arena it's not so easy. And in FAO, with member countries, there was a lot of discussion. But some member countries wanted to push the agenda on agroecology and ask FAO to organize multi-stakeholder meeting, at least to have a discussion, even if a majority at this time of member countries were not really interested. So there was this cycle of discussion on agroecology was really, really interesting. We heard a lot of discussion about, yes, agroecology can fit the world, but in the end of this discussion, 5 years discussion, the conclusion was agroecology is a promising approach, but we need evidence. Member countries say, okay, we understand now what is agroecology. FAO came up with the 10 elements of agroecology that were endorsed by member countries as a vision of agroecology. Was important because it was really difficult to speak about agroecology at this time, having people like saying, we don't understand what you mean. What is agroecology? So these 10 elements were really important for this. What was important also is to have agroecology as an innovative approach, because we heard every time you want to go to the past, you can't feed the world, it's too complicated in labor, it's not good for the income. So member countries say, okay, let's work on agroecology, but we ask FAO to provide evidence on agroecology, to know what agroecology does, what agroecology doesn't do also. Huh? So we had this work of having objective evidence on agroecology, or as much as possible, I would say. So the beauty of this tool is two things. First, the real objective is to generate evidence on agroecology to support the transition. How do we do that? We assess at farm level two things. The first thing is what is the level of agroecology of a farm? And second thing, what is the multidimensional performance of this farm? So we want to link with the SDG. We want to have objective evidence. Okay, agroecology is promising, yes, but agroecology for our agroecology is not interesting for member country. The agroecology for what? What are the outcomes of agroecology? So the process, oh, sorry. Oh, I go too far. Okay. It was a long process, but TAPE, the tool for agroecology performance, was in a pilot phase for 5 years. It went really fast. And we had a validation workshop recently, for 1 year, more than 1 year ago, and now we are in second phase where we deploy the tool. So a consolidated version of the tool with the support of the European Commission. Just to say, we had a mandate 6 years ago from FAO, but recently, so last year, we had again a mandate with the members country encourage FAO to scale up agroecology and call FAO to improve data collection and utilization, taking into account national regional context. So the mandate is reiterated regularly. Basically, the tool it's at farm level. You make an assessment at farm level with a smartphone. But the farm level is only one aspect. You have a lot of surveys. It's important to be grounded, so to have this survey at farm level. But you have a preparatory phase about the context of the project, for instance, if it's a project, and the last, so step 1 and step 2 at the farm level aspect, and step 3 it's about the policy aspect, because the objective of this tool is not to measure only to measure, it's also to make a change in the policies. So that's a more difficult aspect, I would say, because you need really good evidence if you want to make a change. Just in brief, the two frameworks we have to assess agroecology, you have the 10 elements of agroecology, but the 10 elements is not so easy to understand what you have behind. So we have criteria behind. So we have 36 indices, but behind these indices we have more than 100 criteria to characterize agroecology in a really clear way. And speaking about seeds in resilience, so we put the use of seeds in resilience because for us it's really important for the resilience of food system. The availability to have access to seeds, to local seeds, to produce your seeds, to exchange your seeds. So it's one of the major aspects of the characterization of agroecology. But I don't go into detail because I think many people already know the tool. And the second aspect which is important, what we speak about, is the impact. So we measure objectively on 5 dimensions that were decided by partners, on governance, on economy. The economy part is super important because that's where agroecology is expected. And health and nutrition, society and culture, environment. So we measure also productivity, income, and added value. And we measure soil health. Just to say, the tools spread really quickly because we have more than 10,000 households and like 58 countries. It was in a voluntary basis, or partners who use the tool in their project. Now we have a global database, a big database with 8 million data points. So now the challenge is to use this data point, but also, I'll explain a little later, to make this data point better. Because it was a pilot phase, we have many data made on a voluntary basis. So now the objective is to normalize a little more the way we collect data and on especially the context about this data. Because we have many data, but if you have a clear context, it's not so easy to interpret the data and not so easy to aggregate the data. Because the objective is to harmonize global evidence. So this is a complicated work we are starting now. So I will provide a few results now. At global level, so we clean the data of 5,000 farms in 18 countries. So it was 24 implementation. First, where are we in the agriculture transition? So we can see we still have room for improvement. So there you have the 10 elements of agroecology and where are the performance. The culture and food tradition element with this indices is more developed. And inside these elements, when you speak about criteria, the seeds performance is about 2.8, so it's one of the best, basically. But you can see there is still a lot of room for improvement because we are in 47%, so it means that we are not at half. So yeah, so that's really interesting, but it's also difficult to, what we want to do with this, as it's not easy to make an aggregation, we want to see this country by country, but this is at, as I say, it's at project level. So we have a project and we expand it at national level, but it's not accurate. So what we want to do now is to really accurate at national level and not making an extrapolation of an assessment in one project. So I will explain a little later, that's where we are going now. So this was the level of transition. So now what about the impact? Where agroecology performs the best, for the moment, that's tendencies. That's not final result. Where we see that agroecology performs the best is on soil health. On agrobiodiversity, which is quite logical because diversity is part of the definition of agroecology. On income perception, so income perception, I didn't speak about income because on income calculation is really complicated. So we have to go back to our figures and to check everything because we have outliers and many figures were complicated to have. But we also have qualitative questions on income perception. And so you will see in different projects, the income, by the way, also calculated is higher. But I didn't want to generalize at this stage. And food security. So this is really important. We have an indicator, FIES indicator, and that's really, really important for us. So you can see in green, where there is a positive correlation, yellow, no relationship, and red, negative. So this was the detail of, for example, for soil health, out of 23 projects, I would say, an instance is a project. After 23 projects, you have 18 of them where you have a positive relationship. That's how we made the calculation. So you see the positive impact. Same for, sorry, we have a problem with this. Income perception. you could see negative relationship, but really small, and neutral, but 62% were positive. So the conclusion of this, we are working on all these elements of this cleaning the data. That's a long process, but we have positive tendencies on environmental, economic, and health criteria. I didn't mention it, but you could see it. I don't know why I didn't stop on it, because because I don't like the result. About women empowerment and youth. We don't see any positive relationship for the moment with agroecology, which is surprising, because we are expecting this, especially for women empowerment, because it's in the vision of agroecology, and youth employment also for us is something really important. So far, it's neutral. So we will work on this, and for the next survey, we will have more precise way of measurement, because agroecology is expected on this. So this is what we have for now. So this was a pilot phase. You have different versions, different sampling design, different quality. So it's not easy to generalize. I provide you with a result, but it's not easy to generalize. But now we are deploying tape to facilitate this global result. So that's the second part. Just to say also, I provide aggregated results, but all our partners are making survey and results at local levels that are contextualized. So they are really interesting, because they speak about what happened in a region, what happened in a project. So I provide you with a few examples, but we have eCraft who published a multi-country analysis recently, including Kenya and Ethiopia. In Kenya, there are already 7 tape assessments done in different parts of the country, and 2 new ones are coming. And you will have 2 assessments presented, one by Swissed in Tanzania, and one in Ethiopia by FAO with the support of SDC. We'll present it like tomorrow or the day after, but so yes, follow the session, you have this presentation. And you can find many results on the Agroecology Knowledge Hub. So this has a detail of every result. So soil health, I will just speak about this, income per session landness, but you always see the positive correlation. But I will go faster because I'll have 1 minute. So the next step about Tape Plus. So now we start a new project, building on tape work, to improve existing version of tape, to have more robust result, as I say, and also to assess at national level, because if you want to support agroecology, and now you can see you have national agroecology strategy in the different countries. So as in Kenya, for instance, it's important to be able to assess, to make a baseline and to monitor this work, and also to support the policy dialogue. So we believe that this work with partners and FAO, with this evidence, we could better support this policy change. So I won't be long on this. About the tape tool, we will improve the guidance for users, because the problem of robustness of data is people need to be well trained, and we have a good methodology. We have an e-learning course we have just launched on agroecology for Africa. I make a little slide of publicity. We will speak on the indicators disaggregation. So now, before we have 37 indices. Now we disaggregate these indices in more than 100 criteria to make a really, really precise assessment, more precise than before. So that's an important part, and it's easier to an enumerator to understand what we want to know when you ask a clear question to the farmer. The objective will be also that the farmer could do it by himself, so to have simple and clear questions. And for performance, we will adjust indicator of performance. For instance, the income, we need to make the calculation and the question a little easier to be sure we have good evidence. And we want to automatize this and to make tape totally free and available without asking FAO support. Every partner should be able to use it with our support on internet. So now, the last part of my presentation is about the work we start to assess at national level. So assessing agroecology at national level was already started. There was a few experience in Italy, Switzerland, Netherlands, Brazil, and Polynesia. So basically, it was using the 10 elements and the indices behind to assess with the existing data at national level, can we imagine what is the level of transition of a country? Also, what was interesting in Polynesia, what we did with them, is they wanted to put agroecology in the census. So they have the question of the agricultural census, and they say, okay, it covers 60% of tape. Can we add a new question related to agroecology and social aspects that are not in the census? That's what they did. So that's great because they assessed 5,000 farms with questions were broader than before, not only about the structure of the farm, but also questions about agroecology. So now I need to go fast. So in short, what is STEP National? Okay, this is done. So it's an initiative to create a baseline on agroecology and mainly to work on policy support. So objective, assess agroecology at national level. Deciding key performance indicator, every country has different objectives, so we want to tailor it to every country needs. To identify mechanisms also to monitor change over time. So we start in Kenya to work with the National Agroecology Strategy, with ISFA, with ICRAF, to work on the monitoring framework of this strategy and to see how TEP at national level can be useful to assess and to monitor and to support the monitoring. Also, a policy dialogue recommendation is important to answer the question, what agroecology have to offer? When I go in a country, some governments say, okay, Remy, but what about agroecology? For what? I don't need agroecology. Why will I need agroecology? So you need to be clear. Okay, it can change, you know. Agroecology can be useful for you, no? So to see with them what will be the priority area for food system sustainability, and the entry point that could be interesting for them. So it's a challenge to work for this at national level because you have really some governments who are not asking for it and ask really interesting questions, and you can, of course, provide interesting answers and to suggest reform. So the 4-pillar country, we start the discussion with Kenya, Burundi, Mauritius, and we're looking for the 4th one. So now I need to go fast because it's finished, but just to say the data, we have farm survey, of course, but also we want to use existing data at national level, census, existing surveys, but also try to capture all the data we could have without questionnaire from geospatial information, also biophysical data, for instance, trees, crop diversification, and so on, to try to have many sources of data to make a good snapshot of what is the level of transition, representative level of transition. So the survey, we need to be representative. So it won't be 200 or 300 like we do usually, it will be many more. So after that, the more important slide is this one, and after we go faster to the other one. So really the importance is to have a methodology. Every country will have a methodology, so we will tailor with every country. So we need to co-create because it's a pilot. It's a pilot, we do 4 pilots, and after these 4 pilots, in 1.5 years, we want to have a methodology to be able to assess at national level agroecology and to trigger policy change. So this is a really exploratory phase, I will say. That's why it's interesting to have your support, because the more we are, the better we'll work. Yeah, so after, just to say the different side, we'll have pilot survey. After we will have mass survey, so we need to have massing survey to make a clear, concrete assessment. And after the ideas is to have policy recommendation after this survey. So that's where it's important because, as I say, it's a pilot. We're working with many competencies in different partners in different countries. Also at global level, it would be interesting to have feedback from partners, as we always do in FAO with this agroecology process. We were working with all the stakeholders, and I think everybody is needed. And I know that most of you are working on tape, already using tape, so most of you can be really important to support us for this work. Yeah. Okay, this was the last one, by the way, so thank you.
I know you'll be interacting with TAP going on because it's an ongoing project. Now, the Mentimeter. I promised you some homework, okay? So can we have the Mentimeter? I'll give you 2 minutes per question. We are really running behind time so that we can catch up and have our keynote speakers, our panelists come here. So as our panelists come up and they know themselves for this particular session, let's have the Mentimeter. Okay? Please load it on very fast with the 3 questions.
All right. Thank you, Daktari.
All right.
With your permission, Daktari, we'd like to just make it a bit interactive,
Okay.
if you will allow.
All right.
Just before you post, in groups of 5, just the people seated next to you, just 5 of you, just stand and face each other. Of course, it's going to be a strange one, but in groups of 5, we want to discuss just for about 2-3 minutes. There are 3 key questions we want to explore. Let's just have Menti there. The first question, so that at least we have key takeaways. Number 1. Let's move on to the next one. Next, please. Next question. So what are some of the significant contributions from the presentations that you got? We've heard from 3 key presenters. So in groups of 5, just turn, 5 people. You can turn your seats, it's okay. Turn your seats, absolutely. Turn your seats. I know you found the seats arranged in that way. We want to rearrange it again. Just turn, 5 people, and begin to ask the question, what is that significant contribution? What is that significant? That one thing that stood out from the presentations. And then from there, that's when we will post those thoughts. Because we want to say, it's not a talk shop. It's very practical. We heard the presentations, but what stood out for you? So let's have a timer. We'll have a timer on the screen. Absolutely. We'll have a timer and then silence. I'll be silent. Thank you so much for that. Go ahead, 2 minutes.
I like the interaction.
But you can listen. Yeah, you can listen. We were going to have it on the screen again. I don't have it here, but let me. We'll add another 30 seconds, just 30 seconds. The major contributions. Do you have a microphone? Can we have microphones? We have them, huh? All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We'll stop there. Let's now have the Menti, and we'll have 4 feedback points. Let's have where the microphones. Microphones, please. So what are some of the significant contributions from the presentations? So we have grass fertilizer is promising. Tape works. Microphone, please. Let's have the microphones, and just randomly, let's go to one of the groups. Anyone who would want to share something that was outstanding from the presentations? Oh, at the back, please. Let's have the microphones at the back. At the back. Just put up your hand so that we can see you. Go ahead. Thank you so much. So, one major contribution that you got. Please, if you can, please, you could kindly stand. Cameras, please let's focus on the person talking so that we can. Would you kindly stand?
Thank you very much. It's still about the insect fertilizer, and here we're discussing. It's a very good contribution, but the question, a reflection question, was on the many donors that we saw, and that the question is, these many donors, can they work with our governments, that potential of having many donors, to have a huge plant on the continent that can be able to scale this innovation, and then we can be able to say, yes, we can be able to push agroecology as we've seen it works. I think it's a reflection question that we need to look at, but that was very interesting.
Wow, a big
Thank
round
you.
of applause. Daktari, I hope that's a question there. Not just to invest on one organization, but we're looking at governments.
Yeah, government, and of course our governments can...
Daktari, this is a question, Mbitanga.
Yes, because we needed to know, apart from the donors, what are our African governments doing? And when we look at the Kampala Declaration, the different commitments, is there an opportunity that we can leverage to increase the investment for agroecological inputs? And we pushed for that as civil society organizations during the post-Malabo input. So I think this is an area that our governments should look at. Thank you very much.
Okay, pushing for more investment. That's one question there. Thank you so much. Let's take another comment before we close. Let's take 4. Okay, at the back. Okay, go ahead. In the meantime, please post your thoughts, major contributions so far that you got from the presentations. Go ahead.
Okay, so we were wondering, or we thought, from the presentation we saw that it's taking about 10 years for agroecology to catch up with the production of conventional practices, right? And so it means that presently we are still food insecure. If we transition that lag, what are the ways, maybe alternative ways or complementary ways that we can be able to meet that yield gap?
Okay, yield gap, complementary ways. That's another question there. Thank you so much. A final one here. At the front, please. Just at the front. Go ahead. Do we have another microphone that can go at the front? Another microphone, please. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you very much for all the presenters. Talking about tape, we understand that agroecology has various other stakeholders the farmers, the business people, the marketers, and many others. But I think TAPE is only talking about farmers. So it needs to widen up, to other stakeholders. And secondly, I think rather than collecting data from farmers, they should have control over that data and understanding the tool and being able to analyze their data themselves, and then they can be able to transition to agroecology. Thank you.
Okay, involving other stakeholders and analyzing same data that they collect. Okay, thank you so much. Go ahead.
Thank you. My question goes to the feeble presentation. Looking at it, it shows clearly that agroecology needs patience. Like, you need to be patient to wait from the point you start until to the point where the agroecology takes its shape. My question is, now that our farmers, our community need to eat every day, so by the time you transit until agroecology takes its shape, so what do you advise farmers who are here to see how they can really adapt this transition period, because they need food, and by the time you start doing it, the graphs show that there is no food, there is food insecurity. So what would you advise farmers to adapt this transition period?
Okay, adaptation. The final one here. Thank you so much.
Yes, our concern from our group is to add on TAPE tool. As the results from the TAPE tool shows that it can be useful to develop the national agroecology strategies within the countries. And there are some countries in East Africa that have already developed the national agroecology strategies. What are the way forward now that we use the TAPE tool to make sure that we incorporate the TAPE tool results to develop or to implement the national agroecology strategies within the countries in East Africa? Thank you.
Okay, Daktari, I will hand it over to you because I can see the panelists. But in the meantime, just to know, we are taking in your comments and, of course, your questions in regards to the presentations that we've just heard. So what are some of the significant contributions from the presentations? Please keep posting. Over to you, Daktari.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you did my homework and you are attentive. And we can see that agroecology is working, but it takes a bit of time. And that is a concern of many of you. But before we go to the questions to the keynote speakers, we have two more panelists that were not here before. Dr. Olembo and our friend there, I forget his name, but I know he has a lot to do with seeds in agroecology. Could you just say something, the two of you, in a way of putting in what they never talked about, probably from your perspective? Thank you. Yeah. Yes, Daniel Wanjama.
Thank you. I am Daniel Wanjama from Seed Savers Network in Kenya, and I'm happy to be in this panel. I've seen a lot of research that is being done by various people, and I am also a bit worried that I do not see a lot of research on seeds, and a lot of research that is also done on seed by many research institutions in the continent, and not very much reaching farmers. Just to say as an introduction, it's a bit of disappointment that a lot of resilient varieties developed by our research institutions, actually 60% in Kenya, are not reaching farmers because the expectation is that they should come to farmers through commercial system, and they are not coming to farmers because the commercial players are not interested in those seeds. And therefore, even in terms of research, we are still lagging behind in terms of supporting farmer-managed seed system.
All
If
right.
that is what I say for now.
We take note of that. But I think first things first, because we have been very worried about the soil, and I think that has been where people have run to first. So seeds are coming with time. We have not forgotten about them.
Thank you.
Dr. Olembo, Sarah.
Do you want me
Introduce
to-
yourself and
Yes,
say
please.
something.
Yeah, my name is Dr. Sarah Olembo, and I lead the task force on farm managed seed systems, which is a cluster within the African Seed and Biotechnology Program of platform. So I don't know whether I'm going to respond to the seeds issues or to soil, because even on soil, we have seen the emphasis that has been laid there, and it is really true that unless our soils are healthy, whatever we put in there will not be so healthy at all. And also it translates into our own nutritional health. The other day, I made a joke that, our ladies are less productive now, and it is because of what they consume. Because there are so many pesticides that are being placed into the soil, and we imbibe those ones, they come into our systems, Mr. Organic will tell you that, and they are causing sterility. And so our populations is in fact being fought without us knowing. But coming to the seeds, I made an observation when Marcus was presenting, and there was an issue regarding biodiversity, and that's where I want to focus my response. Because when you look at biodiversity, it must come from the seeds. And here now, we are now paying attention to the women who do the work of selecting the seeds and saving them and sharing them in all the immense diversity. Unless we pay attention to women who do that to enhance our biodiversity and respond to the needs in biodiversity, our struggles are of no effect.
Very good. And I think that will enrich the tape survey or something to probably go into where the women are. I noticed that the youth cannot be seen. But probably in seed systems, the women and the youth probably can be found there. And I take note that there was a comment to include more stakeholders who are in agroecology. And probably if we do that, we'll see where they come in, maybe not just on the soil part of it. Now, I'll go to the question to FIBO presenter. How do we handle the transition period? It takes 10 years to get productivity at par with the conventional system. How do we handle the meantime?
Yeah, a very touching question, and I think a very pertinent question also, because we really don't know, in fact, how to deal with that. It's very, very frustrating. Even our researchers, I'm glad I can have the presentation now and not like 5 years ago when the results were not that good yet. We know from the temperate zones in the north that it takes a long time, and we were hoping that it takes less time in the tropic environment, but we realized it's even the opposite. It even took more time. So I compared it. I mean, it's a very pertinent question to ask, what can you afford as a farmer? Because you have to produce, you have to eat, you have to sustain the families. And what I can say is that we have to realize that the agriculture system is sick. We can compare it also with sick persons. They're dependent not on drugs, but they're dependent on medicals. And so that's why we have to see how do we address this challenge. And there is not coming out of disease in one day. So you have to have and I fully understand if a farmer says, I cannot switch from one day to another to an agroecological system. That's why agroecology is a transitional system. That's why processes are foreseen. That's why we have an objective. That's why we strive to become better from day to day or from year to year also. And that is something which may be very painful. But it's like this, that at the beginning you make big progress, and then you get slower progress over time because you can come closer to it. We can get inspired also by other systems, for example, natural farming in the Asian context, when they compare it to Buddhist systems where you do good and then you mimic nature with it, and that you get closer to actually these ideals. It takes patience, it takes a lot of stamina, but it pays off, and that's what the evidence shows, and I think that that's the positive message behind.
Thank you. And I think coming from the government side, if farmers or rather if farmers are supported by government so that, it takes 10 years. So farmers, we need to be supported for that 10 years before they are fully able to go on their own. I think it can work if farmers are not left to themselves and they work with their governments to make sure that the farmers have food in the meantime. I want us to go to the presentation on FRAS. People liked your presentation, but did they have any questions? Anything, or it was good all the way? I had a question myself. How can we, where are all these, what can I say, raw materials going to come from? Are they going to be enough? If we all went FRAS today, will it be enough? How do we systematically engage everybody, every farmer, or produce enough FRAS for every farmer?
Yeah, thank you so much for that great question. FRAS actually depends on the waste. If you look at the African continent today, we produce 125 million tons of waste. All around us is waste. Dump sites full of waste, polluting the environment. So what we are doing is using one of the most efficient environmental cleaner, which are insects, to recycle this waste to produce fertilizer. And using a circular bioeconomic perspective, what we are doing is you are recycling that waste to produce so many different value-added products. I've just presented FRAS, which is a fertilizer component. But you have the protein, which go to the animal feed. You have the oils that could be feedstock of biodiesel production. You have insects being a very good source of antimicrobial peptides that can help you in producing feeds that are to reduce antibiotic resistance. But now we talk about the FRAS. Take, for example, for every 10 tons of waste recycled, you are producing close to 4,000 tons of 4,000 kgs of FRAS. That means and the advantage here is that it takes 5 weeks. So that means you can produce the FRAS 9 times in 1 year. And if you look at our smallholder farmers, this can easily allow produce fertilizer more available to them. And the benefits are also enormous in terms of the insects producing hormones and enzymes that are enriching the FRAS, making them a more biorational product. And so has this diversity and multi-purpose effects in terms of our agroecological systems. Thank you.
Great answer. I think the solution there is scalability at industrial scale. And so maybe we need to bring in our industrialists. But it's great to see that the science is there and it is working. Now, a question to the presenter on top. How do we implement the national agroecology strategy for the countries? Do you see how we can monitor that? Make sure that you are working with governments to implement it? There was a question about that, please.
Thank you for the question. Yes, that's something really strategic and interesting for us to support country to do that. That's what we will try with Kenya, because under ISFA they are working on the monitoring evaluation framework with the indicators they have in the strategy, which are a lot of indicators. We also have a set of indicators within TAPE. We try to make it simple, which is not easy. But from the beginning, we try to make simple as indicators simple. So the idea is to make like a convergence between what we want to assess and to use the TAPE methodology. So once we work on this and we can have a methodology, we can also work with other countries if they are interested, because that's really good to have the same way of assessing. But TAPE is here for that, to support partners and governments. Yeah, I also wanted to answer the question about farmers. It's true that initially TAPE was from FAO to gather harmonized evidence. So we are thinking about global. And in the end, as we do survey at farmer level, we were surprised because our partners use a lot TAPE, make TAPE their tool, and ask TEP to, on every project, to use TEP to assess a project, to make impact assessment. So TEP use was not the use we were expecting. We were really academic, saying let's take global harmonized evidence, but in the end it was used on the field by partners, and farmers were using it. So what we want to do now, as we see the reality is there, TEP is used by already on projects to support farmers' transition. We want to make it more easier for farmers to assess by themselves, but also when we make a survey, to provide immediate results to the farmer. Because before we're collecting, and the results were coming afterwards. So now we provide immediate results. And I tested it in Burundi, the new version, where we provide first results. And I was really happy to see that the farmer was really, really interested in the result, really curious, took note and asked, okay, this, how can I improve? You say that, but what can I do? So it triggered a discussion, which was great. So yeah, so we were going in that direction, and also to have the platform easier for the farmer, and also to keep the farmer can have the data.
Thank you very much. Our time is up. One last assignment for you. Please stand up. Just stand up. 2 claps. One for yourself. Clap for yourself. The next clap is for everybody else in the room. Now you remember those little groups that you had? The discussion ones? Can you tell everybody in your group, well done? Well done.
All right.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you so much. A big round of applause to the moderator. You may kindly take your seats. Thank you so much, all the presenters.
Thank you. This is the end of our session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much as well. Now. Just before we close, final moment for your group work. Once again, this is where we say, okay, we've heard, but what is my personal contribution, recommendation to this discussion? So in those simple groups, once again, just for about 3 minutes, we'll be done, and then we take our break. Okay, let's start. Just turn. What are your recommendations? That's the question. What are your recommendations moving forward? Just turn, just discuss it. And that's also part of networking, so that at the end of it, we will know each other and we will hold each other accountable. So just turn to the person seated next to you. 3 people, 5 people, it's okay. And just discuss that question. What is your recommendation? Go ahead. Let's do that. And once you get that, just post it. What are your recommendations moving forward? Let's have the timer on the screen. 2 minutes. Recommendations, 2 minutes. What would you recommend moving forward? The timer is on, 2 minutes. 1 minute left. All right. Quick comment on recommendations, quick comment. We have a hand there. Microphone, please. Microphone. Let's get a microphone at the back. Microphone. Microphone. Go ahead. Another quick comment. Okay, let's come at the front here.
Yes, I think the comment is on the recommendations. I think we are strongly recommending. Yes, I think we are strongly recommending that initiatives or interventions are launched to ensure that government fast track.
Sandile. A big round of applause to Sandile. Sandile is here from which country? Eswatini. A big round of applause to Eswatini. So what is your recommendation? What did you discover?
We are recommending that we do a multi-stakeholder approach that will trigger or ensure that government fast-track the uptake of agroecology to make it national programs as opposed to farmer-spatial approaches. Thank you.
Fantastic. Government uptake of agroecological strategies. Go ahead. Well, the lady had the microphone. Where did the microphone disappear to? Okay, pass this.
Thank you. My name is Edis. I came from Ethiopia. There is 2 recommendations as a group we discussed. One, everyone needs to be on board to make these things happen, agroecology. The other one, we discussed a lot about agroecology, and then the system needs to, it needs to be integration into the system to make it sustainable. So that's the 2 recommendations what we make.
Well, big round of applause to Ethiopia. Everyone should be on board. Thank you so much. And integration into the system. Ladies and gentlemen, we still have a lot to discuss right now because of time. Kindly take note. I can see those hands. Let's just have the Menti spot there. Let's just have the Menti spot. Please post those thoughts on Menti, because data, the oil of the 21st century, we want to take note of that. So post that. Now, it's 1 minute past 11. Outside, there are 4, take note, 4 serving spots for you. 4 of them. Again, there are 2 major exhibition spots as well. So as you walk out, take note. 4 serving spots, 2 exhibition spots. If possible, invite your group members for that tea break. In 20 minutes, we come back to kick off. Let's have the timer, 20 minutes. 20 minutes, we come back to kick off the second installment of our engagement. Let's have the timer. The timer begins now, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go for break. Let's meet back here in the next 20 minutes. Asanteni sana. Thank you so much for your contribution. We appreciate your presence.
The livelihood of many farmers across the world depends on extensive livestock keeping on the world's rangelands. But for many years now, pastoral communities in Kenya and Tanzania have been at a disadvantage. Threats from climate change, pressure from invasive species, and the undermining of traditional management practices.
Changamoto tunayopitia huku sisi kama wamama, hasa sehemu ya malisho ni chache. Kwa unakuta wazee wetu, waume zetu wanapoondoka na kwenda mijini kutafuta kipato, sisi wamama na watoto ndo tunashughulika na ile mifugo.
Kama mfugaji, napitia changamoto sana ya maji. Sisi tuna shida sana ya maji ya mifugo. Kwa hiyo tukipata miradi anayejua kutengenezea sisi siwa la maji, tuko pamoja na wao.
What is happening is these small tributaries are losing a lot of vegetation due to human activity. We are losing our native trees, we are losing their grasses, we are losing their cover. And people have really invaded these spaces, doing very much hazardous activities. And that has robbed the space of its life, the spaces of their lives or the systems. And each of these streams are dying one by one.
However, some incredible changes are about to happen thanks to communities coming together with researchers and development organizations to restore the grazing lands by halting and reversing the degradation of ecosystems. This will contribute immensely to reducing poverty, preventing mass extinction of fauna and flora, and combating climate change. The healthier the ecosystems, the healthier the people and the animals.
Hivyo ili tuweze kurejesha nyanda zetu za malisho pamoja na misitu yetu ya jamii, tunakuja na mradi huu ambao unatumia mimea ya asili ili kurejesha uoto wa asili. Na hasa mradi huu tunaofanya katika maeneo ambayo yameharibika sana kutokana na wingi wa mifugo au kulisha holela, lakini pia kutokana na mahitaji makubwa ya nishati ya kuni. Na matokeo yake ni kwamba uoto wa asili unapopungua, mvua inaponyesha, udongo ambao ni wa muhimu sana, ule ambao una mbolea, unachukuliwa wote na kubakiza eneo ambalo ni kame, halioti chochote, na hivyo tunahitaji kuliboresha na kulipatia mimea hii ya asili.
But how can these partnerships help pastoral communities to prosper? How do you make sure the best practices are introduced? And what needs to be done to ensure the community gets the best out of it?
Develop the requisite capacity of stakeholders at different levels from the community through implementation to policy level, that then they are able to identify and move to the implementation step of these native species.
The Native PEP project aims to strengthen livelihood security and environmental health in selected regions in Kenya and Tanzania affected by rangeland degradation, deforestation, and invasive alien trees. For this purpose, the aim is to promote, together with relevant stakeholders, native plant species for restoration of rangelands and community forests in Kenya's Baringo and Isiolo counties and southwest of Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, which are also targeted for implementation of the sustainable management of the invasive P. juliflora.
Kwa hiyo lazima kuwe na semina kuwafundisha, tuwaambie ni maeneo gani yameathirika, na wao wanatupa traditional knowledge zao au indigenous knowledge. Wana elimu, wana uzoefu ndani ya maeneo yao ambayo wanaweza kwa kutumia hizo elimu zao za asili, na sisi kama wataalam sasa tunaingia pale, tunashirikiana nao kuboresha.
The women are concerned more with firewood, while the men are mostly concerned with water and pasture for their livestock. Restoration of degraded rangelands remains a challenge. However, working together to reintroduce native plant species is key in reducing poverty and combating climate change for a healthier people living in healthy ecosystems.
Hello everyone, my name is Dr. David Amudavi. I'm the Executive Director of BioVision Africa Trust. This is an organization that is based in Nairobi, but working for the whole of this continent. Our vision as an organization is a food secure continent with people living in a healthy environment. We focus on working with farmers to support them to get information that is useful for them to produce for us food in a very healthy way. We train farmers and we also link these farmers to markets so that if they produce enough, they can have the extra sold to the markets. We work very closely with researchers to enable that the information that comes from research and the information that also comes from some of the very good farmers who have great new ideas that can contribute to increased and better food production to get to as many farmers as possible. We do that using our radio programs, we produce magazines for farmers, we train farmers in our several training centers here in Kenya. We are in 12 counties and with very well resourced farming facilities in terms of knowledge, in terms of information, and our field staff work with the ministry, extension staff, and other people who work to support farmers to equip them with information, with skills, and with a passion to undertake their agricultural activities. We believe that farmers are very important to our food system in this country. Without farmers, we can't be who we are. And this is again a very important obligation that farmers contribute to. As one great agronomist, an American, said, food is a moral right to all who are born into this world. That is what Norman Bullock said. And for us, BioVision Africa Trust, we are living towards that ideal to ensure that food is a moral right to all the farmers. And we want farmers to continue producing in the most healthy way to ensure that we are fed in a more nutritious way than it has been before, because we want to ensure going into the future, we are people that are healthy, we are people that depend on food more and depend very less on medicines. And that is why I would say farmers are great change makers to enable us to make food to be our medicine and not medicine to be our food.
In many parts of Western Kenya, the soils are poor and do not allow farmers to obtain a good yield. The most common reason for depleted soil in Western Kenya is growing the same cereal crop in the same field year after year, extracting nutrients with each harvest without replacing them. Adding chemical fertilizer is one way to replace nutrients, but many farmers cannot afford fertilizers. The chemicals in the fertilizers also harm small organisms in the soils, which are important to replenishing nutrients.
Shamba ilikuwa imeharibika, ilikuwa na asidi mingi sana. Nilikuwa na changamoto. Hii shamba yangu eka moja, saa zingine nikipanda mahindi, ilikuwa nanipea tu gunia 4. Lakini tangu nianze kutumia mbolea ya kienyeji, nimeona udongo imeimprove sana.
Bokash is a Japanese word meaning to ferment. So ni aina ya mbolea ambayo imeundwa kutokana na organic materials ambazo zimechanganywa na kuachwa kwa muda wa wiki 2 zichache ama ziferment.
Bokashi is a composting method of fermentation that you can easily do in your farm with just a few simple steps. Bokashi adds both nutrients and microorganisms to the soil, unlike chemical fertilizers that add only nutrients that are quickly consumed or washed away. While traditional composting can take up to 3 months to decompose, Bokashi is usually ready for use after just 2 weeks. Moreover, manure, when not well decomposed, contains weed seeds, and when applied to the field increases weed infestation.
Bokashi iko na manufaa mengi, haswa kama umetumia kwa kupanda mimea yako. Kwanza kabisa itakuwa inarutubisha udongo wetu. Ikisha rutubisha udongo inamaanisha kwamba mimea pia itakuwa na afya. Mimea ikishakuwa na afya inamaanisha wadudu ama magonjwa hayatakuwa hayatashika ile mimea. Alafu pia wakati wa mvua kidogo utaona ya kwamba mkulima ambaye ametumia bokash, udongo yake haitakuwa inapoteza maji kwa urahisi, kwa hivyo itahifadhi maji ambayo pia ni ya muhimu sana kwa mmea.
Now that we have seen the advantages of bokashi, let's have a look at what is needed to prepare it. Before you start your bokashi composting, you will need a polythene paper to cover the components mixed and heaped together. You will also need farmyard manure, charcoal dust to aid in aeration and eliminate toxins. Bran the hard outer layer of a cereal like rice, wheat, millet, oats, barley or maize is important in accelerating the decomposition. Then there is molasses, a byproduct of the sugar-making process that is available in agrovets as a sweetener for cattle feed. It provides energy for the microbes. Rice husks are also very good for the bokashi, but coffee husks or crushed dry maize cobs can be used as a substitute. This contains silicon.
Baadhi ya zile vitu ambazo tunatumia zina introduce madini tofauti tofauti, kama vile utapata tukiintroduce
Thank you so much, Simon. Thank you so much. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have our presentation there. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready to kick off our second engagement. Thank you so much, thank you so much, thank you so much. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So this is our program. We want to celebrate our key guests who will be speaking to us. We have Honorable Fred Bueno, State Minister for Agriculture, Uganda, the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, Kenya. We have GIZ, Kenya, well represented. Well represented as well. African Union, well represented, and our speaker is ready to speak to us. Millennium Institute USA, ready as well to join us. And BioVision Africa Trust, thank you so much. So ladies and gentlemen, we want to kick off. Ladies and gentlemen, please take note, in the afternoon we'll be having parallel sessions. So get ready to engage in that. At the moment, we have key speakers joining us online and they are ready. And I'm going to the first speaker talk to us. Please take note. If you have any questions, comments, we'll have the Menti platform for you to engage with. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our first speaker at this moment.
She is a trailblazing leader with nearly 30 years of experience as a plant.
Please let us welcome Dr. Janet Edeme. Dr. Janet Edeme, you're joining us online. Rural Economy Division and Acting Head of Agriculture and Food Security Division, African Union Commission, Addis, Ethiopia. Welcome, Dr. Janet Edeme. Dr. Janet Edeme.
She is a trailblazing leader with nearly 30 years of experience as a plant pathologist, development specialist and policy analyst. She has played a pivotal role in shaping agricultural policies and strengthening initiatives that empower rural communities. Please welcome Head of Rural Economy Division and Acting Head of Agriculture and Food Security Division, African Union Commission, Addis, Ethiopia, Dr. Janet Edeme.
As we wait for Edeme to join us, let's look at some of the recommendations that you shared just before break. Follow-up comment on evidence: we need to find ways of marketing all the crops from the diversified AE farm to properly account for the value of the diversified farm. Celebrate results at each level of transition towards adoption of agroecology. Can you produce diseased fertilizers with a fast way if your organic waste is diseased in the first place? Okay. Rendre disponible les résultats des recherches sur l'utilisation des déjections des insectes pour la fertilisation des cultures, car l'un des véritables problèmes est l'insuffisance de communication. Governments need to support all food system actors to transition and participate in the movement. Okay, thank you for those comments. David from DRC, are you here? David from DRC? DRC. Come on. Why don't we get a microphone? DRC, David is here. Talk to us. So far, what have you learned so far? What have you learned? If we can kindly have the camera focus, David all the way from DRC. A big round of applause to David. He is here. Thank you so much. We celebrate you, okay? So we just want to find out. Oh yeah. Okay, so let's listen to David all the way from DRC.
Bonjour à tout le monde. Mbotana biso. Yeah, je m'appelle Christian Mokuba. Je suis le point focal de l'agroécologie au sein du ministère de l'Agriculture. Je suis très heureux de me présenter parmi vous et surtout je suis très époustouflé de l'organisation de cette conférence et j'espère qu'il y aura de bonnes choses. Je le sens déjà, je le pressens déjà avec des thématiques trop enrichissantes et j'espère que chacun de nous sortira avec quelque chose à l'issue de cette conférence. Yeah, you can translate.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Christian. Christian is very happy to be part of this conference and definitely learning a lot. All right? The focal agroecology focal point in DRC. Wow! A big round of applause. Here's the focal point in DRC. Christian, thank you so much. We celebrate you. Merci beaucoup, monsieur. Alors, thank you so much, Christian. Okay. Thank you so much. Zasro from Ethiopia. Zasro from Ethiopia, are you here? Sandile, where are you, Sandile? From Eswatini. Okay. Let's have somebody from Ethiopia. Ethiopia, where are you? Ethiopia? From Ethiopia? Ah, fantastic. No, it's okay. We just want to find out from your perspective, what are you learning so far? Sorry for this. Let me come. Ethiopia, tell us your name and what you're learning so far.
My name is Shimalis Taganya from Ethiopia, working for ICD, and I learned a lot about agroecology, how it is a solution for the global food crisis. It is the only solution. That is what I learned a lot.
Your name again?
Shimalis Taganya. Shimalis. Yeah.
All right. A big round of applause to Shimalis all the way from Ethiopia. Indeed, agroecology is the solution to global food problems. Asante sana. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just waiting for Dr. Edema to talk to us. But in the meantime, just getting feedback.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon. Am I audible?
We can hear you clearly. Go ahead. Talk to us.
Excellent. I have a PowerPoint presentation. I don't know if it can be projected from your end.
Yes, we can. Go ahead. Dr. Dr. Edeme, can you still hear me? We do have your presentation ready, so you can go ahead and talk to us. Well, she's on, back, okay.
Yes, I am.
Excellent, welcome back. We have your presentation ready, so please go ahead and talk to us.
Okay, thank you very much. So good morning for those of you in the hall there, and good afternoon wherever you're joining us globally. I am Janet Edeme, and I head the Rural Development Division, and I'm also the acting head for the Agriculture and Food Security Division, and I'm based at the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, looks like we have a technical challenge that we're sorting out with Dr. Edeme's connection. This, ladies and gentlemen, was meant to be the official opening. Yes, we started with a panel discussion, but right now we want to now kick off the official opening ceremony. So I'd kindly request that we settle so that we can kick off together. So, ladies and gentlemen, I invite all of us to just be upstanding for our Kenya national anthem and the East African Community Anthem as we officially open this conference. Please help me give some 5 people a big high five and tell them welcome. Welcome, welcome to the conference. I know we started in the morning, but welcome, welcome, fantastic. Thank you so much. You may kindly take your seats. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You may kindly take your seats. By the end of the conference, we want to make sure that you know at least 15 people. 15 people, make that your goal. Get their contacts. Ladies and gentlemen, to now kick off with the opening remarks, once again, the gentleman at the helm, please welcome.
He is a visionary leader in sustainable agriculture dedicated to empowering communities and transforming lives across Africa. With a rich background in education, research and international collaboration, he has inspired smallholder farmers to adopt innovative, ecologically sound practices. Please welcome the Executive Director, BioVision Africa Trust, Dr. David Amudavi.
A big round of applause, please. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much, MC, for this opportunity. The representative to our Minister for Agriculture and Livestock Development, Dr. Christopher Wanga, who is Director, Livestock Policy Research and Regulations. Our State Minister for Agriculture from Uganda, a special guest indeed in our midst today. We are really honored to have you be with us. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our dear farmers, and all protocols observed. It is my pleasure again to come here to warmly welcome you to our second East African Agroecology Conference. As you've seen, this is almost 1.5 times the size of the conference we had in 2023 March in Safari Park Hotel. And very briefly, I would like to say why we are here, so that at least when we are in the room, we know we have a duty to see how we can contribute to the reason of being here. With over 700 participants, I have asked my team to let me know how many countries have reported so far. Vanessa, I'll be very happy to know. But I think so far, I'm told we have over 30 countries represented. So before I say why we are here, let me just recognize the participants that have come from East Africa. Please, wherever you are, if you are from East Africa, just a little exercise. Can you stand up? We acknowledge you. Thank you. A round of applause to the East Africa. Thank you. Thank you very much. Santen, you can sit down. Let's go to Southern Africa. Participants from Southern Africa, thank you very much. Let's welcome them in the room. Thank you. Glad to see you, glad to have you here. Participants from Central Africa. Welcome our participants from Central Africa. Thank you very much, glad to see you here. Participants from West Africa. Let's welcome our participants from West Africa. We can see them are there. Thank you very much, you are most welcome. Last but not least, participants from North Africa. Yeah, we have. Let's welcome them. Thank you very much. Asante, as you can see, the whole continent is represented. Participants from the rest of the world outside Africa, please stand up wherever you are. Europe, US, Asia. Let's welcome them. Thank you very much. Glad to see all of you. I feel most welcome. Thank you very much. And of course, we know there are many others who are outside. Now, ladies and gentlemen, all due protocols observed, we are here to provide an important forum that will showcase and promote the agenda of agroecology as an important driver or pathway towards realizing resilient and sustainable agri-food systems. This is an important opportunity for us to address the question that many people keep asking. Do you have evidence that agroecology, and we have examples of agroecology. Sometimes I say we better understand agroecology through the examples that we promote. There are people here that will give examples of organic agriculture, regenerative agriculture, bio-intensive agriculture, agroforestry, and other systems. And all of them are systems that we put under the umbrella of agroecology. So people keep asking, policymakers keep asking, they are here. Donors keep asking, development partners keep asking, can agroecology feed our nations? And indeed, we are saying it can. And we have examples that we are going to show. Examples from published work, from projects, and examples from real work outside. And that's why we all want to take an opportunity to look at the exhibitions, and we look at what opportunities do agroecology offer. We already saw some of the work from our keynote speakers earlier this morning. Very encouraging work indeed that can show how agroecology can contribute to realizing resilient, meaning even if shocks come, these are systems that can still assure families food on the table, systems that can still ensure incomes to the families, systems that can still ensure we are operating within safe environments. Number two, this forum is important to connect all of us as important stakeholders, also linking us as consumers to markets and linking us to people who give answers to the questions that we have, the researchers, the investors who want to see where do we put our dollar, our shilling, and so on. And also to link to those who are always thinking of the new ideas that we can support in terms of innovations. And with all this, we'll also be looking at then how do we collectively address some of the challenges that we are facing in terms of production, in terms of market access, and very importantly, in terms of quality standards, and how we can be important players, not only at domestic level, but also globally. And finally, but not least, it's an important forum for us to inspire our actionable commitments towards environmentally friendly food systems that are aligned with our own national aspirations, aligned with global declarations. We know some of those important declarations, like the Sustainable Development Goals, and recently the United Nations Food System Summit goals, and our own prime policy framework, the next 10-year strategy and action plan. It is embracing the way we can develop our agri-food systems in more resilient and sustainable ways. So we have that opportunity to see how do we commit ourselves
not only in talking, but also in terms of actions, in terms of what policies and strategies do we need to put in place, in terms of what kinds of investments do we need to put in place, and what types of research and development should we put forward. And ladies and gentlemen, very, very importantly, that farmer wants to be reassured that he or she has the support of the government, has the support of the private sector, and has the support of all of us, very importantly, as consumers. With those few remarks, I want to welcome you once more to this important conference. And before I leave the stage, kindly all the conference organizing committee members, please, very quickly, in 2 minutes, can you come here so that people can appreciate that this is the team that has been working to get this conference organized. It wasn't Mudavi alone. Please be on your feet. Come here very quickly. I see some smiling and still seated. Can you please stand up very quickly and come? Conference organizing committee members. These are the men and women that have been working very hard, planning for the last several months. Oh, you can come on the stage. Oh. Come on the stage. Yeah, this is the team that has been working tirelessly planning for this conference. Just very quickly, in 2 minutes, a name and the organization as you go to sit down, please.
Thank you. Eustace Kiari, working for Kenya Organic Agriculture Network. Thank you.
Hello, thank you. Nelson Mandela from the Ministry of Agriculture.
Thank you. Good morning. Manei Nanyu, working for Pelham Kenya. Thank you.
Anne Maina from the Biodiversity and Biosafety Association of Kenya.
David Kamau, Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization.
Anne Muriuki, same organization as him, called CARO.
I'm Jambo Wanjiru Kamau, agroecology expert.
Juni Wangari, the chairperson of Organic Fertilizer and Input Manufacturers Association of Kenya.
Alex Mutungi, the Ecological Organic Agriculture Initiative of the African Union, Vision Africa Trust.
Jambo Jambo, I'm Venancia Wambua. I work for Vision Africa Trust, Head of Programs. Karibuni sana, and we are happy to have you. Thank you.
Shendrak Bolonzi, organic farmer from Machakos.
Grace Mugo from the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, State Department for Agriculture. Karibuni.
Good morning, everyone. Matthias Geck from CIF and the Agroecology TPP.
Good afternoon. I'm instead of my colleague Mercy Ambani from Seed Savers Network. She's ill and therefore I represent Seed Savers Network. Thank you.
Dr. Sarah Olembo, member of the steering committee, but also fighting for the farm management seed systems within the agroecology environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The team, you've done a wonderful job. As the chair of the conference organizing committee, I know how much you put in, your time, your ideas, and you demonstrated your resilience and a purpose for this conference. I really salute all of you. For me, David Amudavi, as you've already heard, I'm the Executive Director of Vision Africa Trust, and I've been the chair for this second Eastern Africa Agroecology Conference. It's our second one. This is a preparation for the third one. Now we'll need to look for a big venue. We've realized we can do much more than this. So with that, I would like to hand over to our MC to guide us to the next presentation. Feel at home, engage, and one thing I want to urge all of you as I go to sit down. What is it that you feel is so striking that we should go and work on individually and collectively as we leave this conference. I would like to see a case where all of us feel the energy at the belly that we need to do something. It's important for our nations, for farm families, to look at what direction should our agriculture take. It is not about ideologies, it's not about paradigms, but it's about the reality. There are challenges facing our food systems, there are challenges facing our economies. Can we get ideas that are coming out of this conference, and we see how we can work at them at country level, at regional level, continental level, even globally as well. So thank you very much, and wish you a very productive conference for the next 3 days. Thank you.
Thank you so much indeed, Chair. Asante sana, Dr. Amudavi. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, get ready to learn. Political and policy changes for a fair, healthy and regenerative food system. Let's find out more about that from...
He is a trailblazing scientist whose innovative work in Africa revolutionized agriculture and averted a major food crisis, saving the staple cassava crop for 200 million people. His visionary approach and holistic multi-stakeholder strategies have earned him prestigious accolades like the World Food Prize and the Alternative Nobel Prize. His dedication to sustainable development and capacity building inspires hope and sets the stage for a future where science and collaboration drive transformative change for global food security and environmental health. Please welcome the Millennium Institute USA Board Chair and President, Dr. Hans Herren.
Big round of applause to Dr. Hans Herren. Welcome, welcome, joining us virtually. Dr. Hans Herren, good to meet you again, this time round virtually. We're waiting to hear from you. If you can hear us, please go ahead and talk to us. Would kindly request that you unmute. We are all set to hear from you and definitely learn. All right. Okay, so as we sort that out, we'll have another speaker who is here with us physically. Are we ready? Dr. Hans?
Okay, good. Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm speaking to you from my home in California, which is also a farm. So in addition to my many different things, I'm also a farmer. So first of all, let me mention that I'm very grateful to Dr. Amudavi for this kind invitation to present this keynote.
Dr. Hans, we've missed you again there. There's a bit of a challenge with your audio. Dr. Hans, if you can hear us, kindly unmute. All right. So Dr. Hans, as you work on the audio on your side, possibly we could move on to our next speaker. Just unmute. We can see you here. We can see you. Ah, there we go. Go ahead. Now talk to us, Dr. Hans. It's now all right. Talk to us now. Dr. Hans? We were hearing you clearly earlier on. Okay. All right, we apologize for that technical challenge. But once Dr. Hans is ready, then we'll bring him on board. But in the meantime, let's kindly have our next presenter who is here because of time. Ladies and gentlemen, please.
He is a visionary agriculture and rural development specialist from Barbados, dedicated to transforming small farmer livelihoods and promoting sustainable, eco-friendly crop production. He leads pioneering initiatives that empower communities through innovative policies and practical solutions, ensuring food safety and sustainable agricultural practices. Please welcome the Senior Agriculture Officer, Plant Production and Protection Division, Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, Dr. Ronnie Brathwaite.
Big round of applause, please. Welcome.
Thank you so much and good afternoon. It's a bit weird seeing my face on that big screen. I'm not as famous as Dr. Hans, but I'll try to give you some things to think about over the next few days. Thanks to the organizers for having this event. Your Excellencies, it's good to see you here, that we are well represented by those policymakers who make agroecology possible in so many countries. It's a privilege to discuss this important topic, the role of agroecology in ensuring resilience and sustainable global food systems in an ever-changing global geopolitical climate. We face complex challenges like climate change, environmental degradation, economic volatility, all of which threaten our food security and the livelihoods of farmers. As geopolitical tensions, trade disruptions increase, we seek solutions that strengthen our food systems while promoting sustainability, resilience, and equity. Agroecology stands at the forefront of these transitions, offering holistic, regenerative approaches and agriculture that's balanced and environmentally healthy, economically stable, and offers social well-being to so many farmers. But what is the role of agroecology in this sustainable agriculture we talk about? Agroecology is more than just farming practices. It's science, it's a movement, and it's a vision of sustainable agriculture. At its core, agroecology integrates ecological principles. Agroecological production enhances biodiversity. It improves soil fertility. It promotes natural resource conservation. And it provides economic benefits for so many people, not only farmers. As someone mentioned earlier today, there's so many other actors in the food system. Unlike conventional farming, which relies mostly on chemical inputs and monoculture, agroecology offers diverse, resilient ecosystems that adapt to a changing climate. By emphasizing techniques such as intercropping, agroforestry, crop rotation, organic fertilization, agroecology reduces dependency on these synthetic inputs while improving soil health and water use efficiency. It also leverages local knowledge. Knowledge led by farmers' innovations, ensuring agricultural practices align with unique needs of different environments and communities. And now for the challenges. Agroecology faces many challenges. The world's food system is under increasing strain due to climate change, due to geopolitical tensions. We've seen that now in certain circles, we're not able to talk about climate change anymore. We're not able to talk about gender and equity and inclusion. These are threats that are not from climate change, of course, but these are man-made, just like climate change. So we need to change what we're doing in food systems. Conflicts in key agricultural regions, trade restrictions and disruptions. These conflicts have all exacerbated food insecurity, leading to hunger, price volatility, and limited access to farmland in some cases. Many countries, particularly those that rely heavily on imported food, are now recognizing the vulnerabilities of our global supply chains. Extreme weather events such as droughts, floods, and even hurricanes, from Barbados, as you would have seen from the introduction, we expect hurricanes every year. It's a natural occurring phenomenon, but we expect to see some disaster at some point, so we have to prepare. Further challenges to food systems, for example, damaging our crops, pests and diseases, reducing our yields, these are all challenges that we must overcome. In such uncertain times, ensuring food security demands resilient agricultural systems that can sustain production even amid external shocks. This is where agroecology presents a compelling solution. We've heard so many voices this morning about agroecology, about TAPE, how we measure productivity, how we measure the impact of agroecology. And these are important as we look forward to a different system that is ecologically friendly and inclusive. How can we then build resilient systems through agroecology? There are four main ways. Promoting biodiversity. By fostering a variety of crops and livestock breeds, agroecology enhances ecosystem services, supports pollinators, and reduces vulnerability to pests and diseases. This diversity is crucial in mitigating against risks associated with monoculture farming. We have witnessed in the last few years the threat of a fall armyworm and the fight that FAO has put forward against fall armyworm in its global action, which has provided many success stories utilizing biodiversity and local knowledge to fight this pest. So we need also to empower local knowledge, traditional agricultural knowledge passed down through generations. This is vital in designing resilient food systems. Farmers, especially women and indigenous communities, hold critical insights into seed selection, soil health, and sustainable land management. And what does this say for our food security and for our food sovereignty? Agroecology enhances local self-sufficiency by reducing reliance on imported seeds, on imported synthetic fertilizers, on imported chemical pesticides. It prioritizes community-driven solutions, ensuring the food systems are rooted in local context and needs. By fostering climate resilience, I said to a colleague of mine who also works in biodiversity that biodiversity equals resilience. But agroecology enhances these local agrobiodiverse systems such as agroforestry, conservation agriculture. They improve water holding capacity of soil, increases the ability of crops to withstand climate extremes such as droughts and floods. With all of these benefits, how can you argue against agroecology? And this brings me to our call to action. We need to band together to support agroecology, even amidst all of these challenges that I mentioned before. We need to navigate these turbulent times, especially in these unprecedented times where political decisions change from one day to the next. It's almost like a soap opera. You open your laptop or you look at your mobile phone, you see a different political decision that affects so many lives, and you're wondering what is going to happen next. But the role of agroecology in food security cannot be overstated. To achieve a truly resilient global food system, collaborations at multiple levels is essential. At policy level, where prioritization should be given to agroecology, Governments must integrate agroecological principles into national agriculture policies, give incentives to adopt agriculture practices, and provide financial support in research findings and education programs on agroecology. We need to invest in research and development. International organizations such as mine, research institutes, I saw Matthias on stage earlier. These investments are crucial to develop new knowledge in agroecology. The private sector must also invest. I know that it may not be economically feasible for some of the big players in the agriculture sector to adopt agroecology. It cuts into their profits, their bottom line, because these are based on chemicals. A change in their focus can show profits in different areas. So I encourage them to invest in biopesticides, bio-based fertilizers. These are the new models of success for agriculture. We need to empower local communities. Smallholder farmers and indigenous communities are the backbone of the private sector. These are the people who purchase bio-inputs. These are the people who use these inputs to produce our food. We need to look into how we can adapt our technologies to benefit them. Adapted seeds and sustainable farming technologies that are geared towards women, indigenous peoples, and local communities. International cooperation. I think for some of us, this is an important aspect and why we are here this week. Given the interconnectivity of our global food system, countries must work together, build supply chain resilience, ensure equitable trade, support regions that are most vulnerable to climate change and other stresses and shocks. This is how we support each other, to encourage others to adopt agroecology and to collaborate on something that is vital for our food system. So in conclusion, agroecology is a vital pathway towards our food security and food sovereignty, and it's environmentally sustainable and economically stable. And in particular, in these times of uncertainty, we embrace local knowledge, biodiversity, sustainable practices that reduce dependency on volatile global inputs and empower communities to take control of their food systems. It is up to us, it is up to governments, scientists, policymakers, and communities to integrate agroecology into our policies, our research agendas, our investment strategies. Together, through collaboration and through commitment, we can build a food system that is resilient, sustainable, and equitable for generations to come. Thank you for having me here. It's my first time in Kenya, so I'm hoping to enjoy it, and look forward to a fruitful conference this week. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much indeed. Many thanks. A big round of applause once again. We appreciate you. And welcome to Kenya. International cooperation. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, very quickly, we want to appreciate some of the key leaders, county leaders who are here. And to help us do that at kindly request, Honorable Joyce Mutua, all the way from Makueni County. A big round of applause for her as she talks to us. She's the chairperson of all the county executive committee members. Karibu sana.
The director in charge of policies, Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock, Kenya, the State Minister for Agriculture, Uganda, other leaders present, farmers, researchers, development partners. Good morning. Good afternoon. Thank you, thank you. My name is Joyce Mutua. I'm the County Executive Committee member in charge of agriculture livestock and fisheries, corporate development, Makueni County, and I'm also the vice chair of the caucus for whole county executive committee members in charge of agriculture in Kenya. And therefore, I'm very privileged to really have joined you for this conference, which is very important because of the conversation that we are holding, a conversation on agroecology, and that is going to shape the future of food and farming systems across Africa and beyond if we are to achieve food security. Our presence here, I'm told we have exceeded expectations in terms of attendance, is really a testament to that shared commitment of transforming our agricultural systems to be more sustainable, climate resilient, and farmer-led. Kenya has taken an important step in terms of integrating agroecology into policy, and I know the director will talk a little bit more about that, having developed the National Agriculture or the National Agroecology Strategy, which provides a guiding framework. And I am pleased to report that at the county level, counties have developed frameworks that are aligned to that national agroecology strategy, aligning to the local conditions. And these county-led initiatives are critical in ensuring that agroecological principles are implemented at the grassroots level and where they can be the greatest impact on farmers and food systems. Agriculture in Kenya is devolved, and therefore then implementation of policies and strategies happen at the county level. A new